Hello everybody. If you hear a buzzing sound in the background, my neighbor is having their trees trimmed, and that's a chipper that's running. Usually when you're in your automobile you're kind of removed from everything, but even nowadays there's so much going on in the world that it's impossible to have a quiet place to do a video. On today's video I'm going to be referring to some notes. And this video is going to be kind of long, so I'm going to kind of hurry it up a little bit. You know, the man's body is the most marvelous physical creation in the universe. The making of a star, of a continent, of a mountain range, an ocean is not to be compared with the wonder of the skill that entered into the making of man's body. The greatest spiritual creation in this earth is a man's soul, his mind, his memory, his personality, the spirit that resides within him. But this miracle that was wrought by the skillful hands of God in the beginning is repeated every day, everywhere. We do not have to look back to that far-away age to wonder at the creative masterpiece of God. A man's body can be likened to a factory, on the inside of which are thousands and millions and billions and uncounted trillions of little pieces of intricate and marvelous machinery, speeding, working at high tempo every day, every night, every moment. Or a man's body can be likened to a great vast city. On the inside of that city are 10 times 30 trillions of inhabitants, all of them with a task, working intricate bits of machinery at high speed. So tiny are those little cities that in one little speck of blood, no bigger than the pinhead, in that little 1 millimeter cubit of blood, there will be 5 million of those little inhabitants, all of them busy, all of them with a task aside, all of them doing its part to operate this intricate machinery. Those little living people that form this marvelous creative workmanship we call the man. Those little people are called cells. And that cell is filled with the most amazing and remarkable and marvelous substance in the universe, protoplasm. The little cells, those little people, are made like this. First, there is a cell wall. The containing tube has a membrane, and that membrane is pervious, which means some things can go through that cell wall, some things can come out of that cell wall, other things are prohibited. That little tiny cell wall is a marvel in itself. But on the inside of that little cell wall there is a substance, cytoplasm. In that cytoplasm are infinitely small little spaces. Of those little spaces are filled with molecules of fluid, of protein, of sugar, and of salt. But the most miraculous of all of the miraculous things in the building of that little cell, on the inside of that cytoplasm, there floats a tiny sphere, and it is called the nucleus. That is the center of life. On the inside of that nucleus are little small chromatin granules. And in the process of mitosis, cell division, those little chromatin granules gather together into rods that we call chromosomes. Every distinct family, every one of the unbreakable species that God has made has its distinguishing number of chromosomes, and on those chromosomes a distinguishing number of genes. Even the common fruit fly that geneticists have been experimenting with for years has 4 big chromosomes, and on those 4 chromosomes are from about 12 to 15,000 genes on each one. And those little genes have to do with the things of heredity and the building of the body. The distinguishing number of chromosomes in the cell of man are 48. All of those billions and billions of cells are human cells, and they have 48 chromosomes in the nucleus of each one. On those chromosomes are those genes that have to do with heredity and the building of the body. Some have estimated that on those 48 chromosomes in the nucleus of a man, there may be as many as 800 million of those little tiny genes that have to do with the building of the body in those chromosomes in the nucleus of the man. In the woman, in each cell there are 48, the human number, and there are 2 chromosomes that are a little different, a little distinguished, and they are called the XX chromosomes. In the man there are 48 chromosomes, the number of the human body. But the 2 that are different in the man are XY. They are not quite the same. In the human reproductive cell, when those chromosomes are divided into the woman, into the female, the egg cell, in dividing the 48 chromosomes, will have 24 in one and 24 in the other. Then those 2 X chromosomes, one will be in each one of the female eggs, 24 chromosomes, one of them an X, 24 chromosomes, the other one an X. And in the male sperm, however, in the sperm of the man, when the reproductive cell is created and the chromosomes divide in half, there will be 24 in one cell, one of them an X, 24 in the other cell, but one of them a Y. Then, when they are mated, when the 2 are placed together, you have 24 from the female, 24 from the male. And again, you have 48 chromosomes. If the 24 from the female with the X chromosome is fertilized by the 24 with the 24 from the male and the X chromosome, it is a girl, XX a girl. But if the 24 from the female is fertilized with the 24 from the male and it is a Y, it is a boy. XX a girl, XY a boy. So, without teaching and without training, those marvelous infinitesimal small little genes and little chromosomes and little cells began their long and eventful journey building the marvelous body of the marvelous man. Some of them seem to be leaders and directors, and some of them seem to obey orders, which they do faithfully, immediately, and meticulously. Try to say that word again, meticulously. Some of those little people seem to be masons. Some of them seem to be carpenters. Some of them seem to be plasterers. Some of them seem to be generals and leaders. Some of them ordinary workmen. Some of them doctors. Some of them lawyers. Some of them seem to be merchants. Some of them sailors. Some of them policemen. Some of them soldiers. Just all kinds of those little people, all without direction, without previous experience. Without planning, they began to build this marvelous thing that we call the man. And within the first few weeks, over there in one corner, there are some pumping engineers, and they began to construct a little simple one-chambered heart that begins to beat and to pump fluid. And then, just about the same time, the plumbers are laying down all kinds of little pipelines from that little one-chambered heart that the pumping engineers have constructed, and that pump begins to pump a little fluid through those pipelines. And when you look at it closely, It is a moving cafeteria. It is a conveyor belt on which are all kinds of things to eat, so that all of those carpenters and plumbers and electricians and builders can have their food laid right at their door. The marvelous mystery of the little workman. And then, within about 2 months, out of nowhere, there appears those boom builders, and they begin to lay down their structure like a man builds a great skyscraper. And then there appears, seemingly out of nowhere, the teeth carpenters, and they began to gather material for the enamel and for the cement and for all the things that go into the laying down of those teeth buds. And they say when they are needed, we will be right on time. Everything is done just according to schedule. Not a thing missing. Not a thing delayed. And they work and they work, and by 3 months, everybody is on the job. Everything is teeming and everything is busy. There are the bone builders gathering calcium and phosphorus in the right proportions and laying it down for the building of the skeleton. And there are the plumbers laying all those pipelines, thousands and thousands of 50 and 100 and 1,000 miles of pipeline, all ready for the unusual pumping instrument to pour its fluid through. And then there are the electricians, and they're laying down their cables all through the body in order that they might have a fine communication system. And then there are those most marvelous of all little tissues and glands that are beginning to manufacture their hormones, those little messenger boys that can be sent to any part of this miraculous body. And then there are those power machines, the muscles, that are being rigged up and ready to work and to generate power, and they are being tied to all the bones. And then, after a little while, from the photographic department and from the auditory department, the technicians of photography and the technicians of the auditory system are called in. They begin to work, and there before our eyes, those little technicians construct the most marvelous camera in the world. Millions of little cells, the little people that are working there making the cornea, and then making the lens, and then the little tiny muscles around that lens, and then the retina, then the optic nerve, then, in order to protect it, building an eyelid, and on the inside are smooth membranes to protect it. And then, on this side, the other side, building a little water fountain, a little plant by which that little delicate eye, that little photographic piece, can be constantly washed and bathed and kept meticulously clean. Then, after everybody has done his part, and all the little workmen, without teaching and without training, after they have all done their work, then, upon a day, the physician and the father and the family and the neighbors and the friends, they hear the cry of a newborn baby. God has done it again. Well, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.